Okay, so now we're going to take a look specifically at blogging strategy. Okay, so and again, this applies whether you are doing a book or whether you're doing some other type of business. Now, let's first of all just reflect. Where is the money in all of this? Okay, if you're creating a product or service, and in this case we're using books or things related to books, there's actually the least amount of money is in the book itself or in the audiobook. It doesn't matter if it's an electronic, print, or audiobook. The least amount of money is actually in that. The most amount of money is when you start getting major contracts, because the books have given you credibility, an audience, a community. Okay, but in between, you can provide training like I'm doing. You can become an advisor and coach like I have been. You can do subscriptions like I do as well. And then you start seeing ways of generating multiple streams of revenue which help you build wealth. And also, even within your books, you find different products and services that you spin off on. So the money is not in a single book, a single product. If you're into music, it's not into a single song per se. And I'm not saying that people don't succeed at that, but the biggest opportunity for anybody is in the fact that they are able to spin off, create multiple streams of revenue, provide different content for repurpose content that they already have, let's say, in a book. Good example. Okay, we have Rick Warren. He did The Purpose-Driven Life. It was a book. Then it transformed into a workbook. Then I think now they have, The Purpose-Driven Life is actually a serialized series of books, and they have, different new books and subtitles. Okay, but not only did he do books and workbooks, he also did audiobooks. Okay, but he also started doing seminars, video seminars, simulcast. That means that there could have been 1,000 locations across the world where he was sitting in one place, okay, and he got money from 1,000 different locations that may have had 10 to 15 people. So that might have been 10,000 to 25,000 people at one time, where he actually got money off of all of that. Okay, so that's when we talk about how our book is great. It's a great start, but that's not really where the money is. Okay, it's in all the other things that come out of that book, which is our initial seed. Okay, now the P strategy for using blogs. This is my approach. I use blogs for these 6 things, and you can probably even think of some other things. I want a blog to help me lock in my place and position in the marketplace. When I have my own blog, it is my space. I've branded it. In this case, my example is afrobiz.info. I also have my personal one, Lauri-Elliott.com. That's my place. As long as I pay for the monthly and as long as I pay for the annual domain name, that's my space. Now, granted, someone can offer to buy those domains from me. The government, I haven't ever heard of them actually doing this in our country, but they do in some other countries. They could take it away from me, but overall, it's my place and it's my position in the marketplace. No one can take that from me now that I have it. Okay, also it helps me I use a blog to build personal brand. Now in my case, I actually did it backwards. I felt that it was more important to build the AfroBiz brand more than my personal brand, because I was considered a professional and I had enough history that really I didn't, it wasn't like I was necessarily coming out of nowhere. I had plenty of professional background speaking in terms of conferences and papers and things that I had written. Okay, but AfroBiz also was an extension of myself. So in a sense, it did build my personal brand, but it also built the corporate brand around AfroBiz. Also, I use the blog, as I indicated in my writing evolutions, to develop products and services. I started with articles that now became content for books that we're producing now. Also, I use a blog for platform, building my community. I have subscribers. I have people who interact with me, and I have people now that I can send a newsletter to because they're subscribers to our blog. Also, I now have become a process expert. So not only does it help me with my next business venture and using a blog in order to and leveraging blogs in order to build a business for something else, I can now share that expertise, and it becomes another means of improving credibility, generating revenue. And what I'm telling you is, I'm telling you exactly, you know, as I'm doing this webinar with you, this is one of the pieces, process expertise. It opens other doors. By using the blog, it's now also giving me the expertise so that I can share with others. And again, it helps even this process, even if it's a paid webinar, free webinar, it is a means to help also promote you. So this whole thing of blogging is about having an integrated strategy. You want to be able to do all of these 6 things. And again, if we did a brainstorming, I'm sure you could come up with more. But when I looked back at how I have been using the blog, these are the key things that came out of it. So when you're looking at developing your strategy, you want to have these as sections and then say, okay, now, yes, it's going to help me with my personal brand, but what am I going to do with the blog in order to build my personal brand? How am I going to use it in order to develop products? Now with writers, again, I think it's quite obvious. There are obviously different ways in which you do it, but I think the general idea is there. In my case, again, I build a bank of articles that can be repurposed for books. Okay, that's one element that we use the blog for. Okay? Now, this is the real meat of the whole webinar, the blog to book process. This is the process that I have actually used and am using and will continue to use. Obviously, I will adapt it, and I'm saying to you that if you follow this, you will get the organic growth and the multiplication that you're looking for, and you will generate that revenue. But it is a process, so that means that there are things and foundations that you have to lay. So let's just take a look at what is the process for growing the blog to book empire. And I got the idea of empire from a friend that I interviewed for a radio show. I think she was talking about how she was developing her empire, and I said, that's great. So think empire, okay? So we know that way that you're thinking big, okay? So there are actually, I think, 7 or 8 steps or key activities. The first is creative identity. This is the part where you need to identify your unique competitive space. Now, there are a lot of tools for you to do that. You can do personality tests, you can do creativity tests, you can look at the environment in which you are trying to compete to assess your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So all of this is a part of just understanding who you are and what you bring to the table, okay? Because out of that, then you will understand what your strengths are and you'll be able to operate in those. So I do suggest that you spend some time doing that. If you need some suggestion, you can send me an email to the email address that will be at the end of the webinar. I can give you some ideas. But essentially, if you don't know yourself, it is difficult to begin to develop a lot of products. Now, it is one of the things that you'll find in this whole process is that you, as you do business and you create new books, you'll learn more about yourself. You'll learn about your strengths, your weaknesses, you'll develop things. So it is really quite dynamic and it does change. But you do need to have a baseline understanding. That's what I'm saying. So spend some time doing that. Take a couple days, just write notes, where you think your strengths are, where you think your unique competitive space is. Do some online tools, personality style tools, in order to just give yourself an understanding of where you're starting from, okay? Now, the next